up, everybody? How's it going? I am back again on this nice Sunday night over here on the East Coast to talk to somebody pretty special. I'm really excited about this chat myself. Actually, I got FundingGym in the green room. Everybody, I'm sure you guys all know who he is at this point. He's been around the community for a while. He's a big champion for things like onboarding, promoting narratives that like get people excited about it, or narratives that are like unifying and networking overall. I've been consuming his content or the things that he's been saying, since I've been in the Hex community. So it is my honor to bring up the man himself, FundingGym. What's up?
Hey guys, it's very good to be here. I haven't had a direct stream with you. I've been on different streams where you've been one of the members like myself, and I always learn something from your content. I think you're really great about your not just analysis, but like sentiment. You're a good gauge, I think, across the community. So good to be here.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that. I think we haven't. This is the first time we've been on a stream like one-on-one before. I think I can't remember whose stream it was. Maybe RH Max or something. But we've crossed paths once or twice on the internet. So it's nice to be able to have an hour with you just to chat about stuff. But yeah, how are you doing, man? How's everything going?
I'm doing that life balance. People say work-life balance. I think I'm doing a life balance. So people know that for many years I've been a wanderer as far as my content I put out there on Twitter, on YouTube, in this community and such. As I like to see things that are dynamic or interesting as far as cities or culture. So I'm still doing that, and I don't try to be a hard sales kind of network guy. If there's an opportunity that comes up, whether it's a crypto related event, and say, hey, I've got the time, I have the interest to visit that place. The networking element kind of comes naturally to me now. But now I'm really focused on just trying to give tools to people that want to have more impact and influence in social media. So that's one of the things I enjoy a lot now.
Yeah, and you definitely kind of taken up that role in the community from, at least as far as I can remember you talking publicly. You've been very vocal about, like what kind of narratives are we putting out? Like how are we presenting ourselves like to the outside crypto world? Why is that something that like has been, the focus of the content that you've put out through your time, like on streams and on Twitter and everything?
Trying to be a little bit more balanced egg. You can see in my background, I've got
I like it.
something that has a lot of different characters. Some are very nerve-wracked on the far left. Some are, frenetically, wildly happy and euphoric. We're all fragile, so we're all looking for some kind of reinforcement. And I'm trying to be that balance across this community as best I'm able.
No, I think you do a great job of that, and at the very least, I've learned a lot from the stuff that you've put out. I was pretty impressed by the you went to one of these events not long ago. I know you were there with like Silver the Antidote. I'm blanking off the top of my head exactly what it is, but what it was. What was that event one more time?
Nomad Capitalist is
right.
Andrew Henderson and his father, but Andrew Henderson's the front guy for the company. And I think he's put content out for maybe 7 or 8 years on YouTube, maybe even longer. Most of his content and clients are people that are freedom-minded. They're looking for where their capital is treated best, as far as if they are going to have a second visa, second bank accounts outside of this currency, that they might be part of. If they're going to relocate. Some Hexicans have actually gone through the services that Nomad Capitalist offers many years ago. And I know also that maybe in 2020 and 2021, Andrew had been making content specific to Hex, maybe because of those new clients, but also kind of paying attention to what Richard was tweeting in 2020 and 21 as well. So like he's been a parallel, I wouldn't say like a hardcore supporter or anything negative. He's just basically looking at 8- and 9-figure wealth individuals, which many of which are crypto people. So I thought it was a good opportunity to get outside of the bubble that we already know. I love Hexicans, and I certain Hexican personalities. I always, if I can find an opportunity to spend time in person, then I get something from that, or I try to give something to that kind of event. But really, I'm taking it to heart what people like your friend Somi says, which is true. If you 10x the size of the community, then you'll 100x the price of whatever it is you're interested in, as far as
Yep.
tokens in this economy.
Yep.
So my attempt at leadership by example is to go to the events. I don't see founders of other projects. I don't see other community members attending, other than a small pool of 4 or 5 that usually are on my invitation. So I go to Consensus. I go to Bitcoin Miami events, I think twice now. I go to places where the wealthy or the influential seem to be congregating. So if it is a Barrett Jackson car auction, or if it's something that's like a big real estate related event, if it's something that is like I just recently went to this yacht event, paid $60 basically for the day, the first day, and that was going with David Morales, another guy that is public Hexagon supporter. So like we do our best at like getting our ear to the ground about like what people outside of cryptocurrency think and what their boldness or confidence is about the economy. And we try to also pick up, some of that similar vocabulary and just build our network influence.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I'm always impressed, by people like you who are going out to these more, like I don't want to say public-facing events, but these other events that attract money from different asset classes, basically, and are kind of representing our community. Another group of people that I think are doing this really well right now are Corey and Dane from like the DeFi Crypto Alliance. I don't know if you watch any of their content. But they're doing a great job on YouTube, but also they're going to real estate events and they're pitching crypto to real estate investors. And one thing I'm interested in is, and I'd like to hear your experience on this, is like kind of how does that conversation go when you bring up things like crypto or like Hex? Like how is that received when you start getting into those conversations at these different events?
Well, I think that sometimes we cripple ourselves as a community. And why I say that is because we do end up, maybe it's defense, maybe it's protection, that we put on blinders and put cotton balls in our ears. And I can understand that as far as the grassroots origin of 2018, 19, and 20, as far as the Hex product itself. But like, I think we miss out on those familiar bits of vocabulary that are spoken outside of crypto. So we say things sometimes like ROI or never sell your token, always try to find something that pays you to hold it. Like those are interesting catchphrases that also bleed over into, like you said, Corey and Dane's content talking about real estate. So if they're talking about cash flow and they're talking about, basically having an asset that has utility, has function, such as serving as a shelter for a tenant, then it's relatable, right? But like I think we miss out pretty often because we really are just focused on inside of this bubble and the familiar and the comfortable of I may know what someone's avatar is preloading me to think. So if I see someone that has an avatar of their picture with lasers coming out of their eyeballs, I'm set up already with bias. I'm set up because I have a stereotype, and that stereotype may be the first thing that I comment on or get a comment from them, because they're going to respond in kind. And I think that harms our ability to actually grow as a community. So like I've seen for many years, and it happens for me. It happened for me too. You can see that my own Twitter has changed. I might have had hexagon logos and URLs and things like that inside of my header for many years, and that was again because I believe in the product. I like the community. I like the people that are talking about some of these first principles of cryptocurrency. Why we're here, in addition to ROI, like some of the characteristics of cryptocurrency that we tend to like. But I started stripping that out, not because I don't favor those characteristics or those products or the founder or the community, but because I do care enough that I want to get outside of the cold shoulder that I might have received otherwise, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you go to my Twitter now and you look at people that regularly engage. They're not necessarily tweeting praises of the product alone, but they're retweeting and they're commenting and liking content that I'm creating. And the first things that they see on my Twitter, as far as like stuff that I make response to or whatever, is these cryptocurrencies, right? They are these communities. So Altcoin Daily, Gary Cardone, Scott Melker, like all these people that have pretty big followings, they're regularly engaging with my content, and I don't think that they would have done that otherwise if it wasn't for some of the olive branch efforts that we make, and learning how to engage. So
yeah, makes it so. It almost sounds like you're kind of flipping the concept of like building your brand on top of the Hex branding versus leading with your personal brand, and then just letting your interest of the thing kind of percolate through your content, and then people will naturally kind of engage with it from there. But if you're not leading with like the Hex branding in of itself, you may not create these obstacles for people who are engaging with your content immediately because they're seeing hex.com, Pulse Chain, all of these things that may like deter them from taking the next steps of engagement down through the content that you push. Well,
here's a challenge that we see often, and it's part of our normal habit. I don't think there's any real remedy to it. We self-identify. And when we self-identify either through logo, content, response, and so forth, we build a stereotype. Yep. So if I say Bitcoiner, something pops in your head. You don't have to know who it is, right? But if they are putting across their profile, I'm a Bitcoiner, there's going to be a bias that preloads. You don't know anything about them, right? Now, if they're celebrity or if they're famous, you might have other content and context. You might say, oh, this person's a movie star. This person's an athlete or something like that. And now they're a Bitcoiner too. Like you might add on to it based on other information. But when it's basically an unknown to you, we go to the tribal response. They have war paint on. They have feathers in their hat. They seem to have some defensive posture. Like we're going to respond in kind. But I want to be perceived. And again, this is really for the advocation of the product and the community and people that I respect as far as their consistency. But inside of communities, even I retweeted something that Scott Melker put up recently in his recent tweet, which was he was a Bitcoin maximalist, and he self-proclaims it in his minute or so long content. Let me find if I can put that up.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so if
you share your screen, I can throw it up.
Yeah, give me the whatever I got to do. What have I got to do?
Yeah, so if you pull it up on your screen and then click the present button that's down in that little bar where there's Leaf Studio, you present it, it'll pop up on my screen, and then I'll throw it up.
Okay, let me find this.
Yeah. Also, what's up to everybody in the chat? Kaiza, ARJ, AR Crypto J. Good to see everybody. Dix Insider says, Sloth, are you selling your Hex to buy a new Lambo right now? I'm not buying a new Lambo. I'm going to buy a dental office with all of that EHEX money now. That was me.
And and actually, I wanted to say praise to you about that. So you've been making some new content. I saw that you're trying to increase your Twitter influence. You're doing some different algo related stuff. You're actually doing A/B testing and saying this is what worked versus what may be more productive on the next month. I like that A/B testing. I think that's a great example. So people should follow your content, if nothing else, than to learn how to build their own influence, because I think that A/B testing is very useful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's kind of the goal. I'm like, you know what? And I kind of named it like road to monetization, as just, it's not about like monetizing it exactly, but it's like, it's a very measurable benchmark. It's like, okay, you've reached the next level of like influence on the platform. If you get 5 million views, 5 million impressions over 3 months, that's like the benchmark that like the platform has set to be a threshold between like, different levels of content creation. So like, okay, that's a good benchmark to start with if I'm trying to increase my influence on this platform. So like, let's just document it along the way. And as I experiment, other people can get the benefit of that as well,
Yeah. Let me share what what Scott had said. So if I open this tweet, does it make it? Let me freeze it. If I make it big screen, are you able to see it big screen now?
Yep, I can see it.
And if I have the volume up, are you able to hear it when I play it? We'll find out.
Let's find out. Let's see. No, there is no volume. Let me see.
Do you hear volume or not? Maybe I got to do something to share the tab. Maybe let me try again by opening the tab. Twitter. And then,
for those of you while FundingGym is getting that together, for those of you guys don't know, I have a Twitter series where once a month I go through and kind of look at all of my analytics. I look at the strategies that I've done to try to increase the engagement on my tweets, increase retweets, increase impressions, increase comments. And I kind of just do like a walkthrough of all the metrics relative to 5 million impressions over 3 months and see like, hey, are the strategies that I'm implementing actually, resulting in more engagement, or am I like, doing the same amount or less? And it's just kind of like Gary said, A/B testing to see like, hey, this works. Let's do it more. Let's double down. Hey, this didn't work. Let's maybe tweak it a little bit. And so that is pinned on my Twitter at the very top. So if you want to take a look at that one, and you know what, I can even pull it up too. I made a fun little thumbnail. That's what I've realized, actually, putting images on Twitter gets much more engagement than just words in of themselves. And I've actually this month I've seen a good increase in followers, even more than last month. I'm anticipating that actually this has kind of a cumulative effect over time, where it's like the compounding interest hockey curve. Like it's kind of slow at first, but I think it's gonna at some point kind of rocket off. That's the feeling I'm getting. And now we have yours. Let's see. Okay, your screen is up.
All right, let's see if the sound will actually play. If I make it big.
In BlackRock's annual investment letter there's really big news when Larry Fink and BlackRock come in. For a couple reasons. A, it's BlackRock. He's been talking about crypto being a flight to quality. He goes on TV. He's on his roadshow promoting crypto. But then you get the absolute brainlet, smooth brain, can't think for themselves Bitcoin maxis left and right on Twitter going, he's only saying crypto because he can't say Bitcoin. You're not allowed to say Bitcoin because of the SEC. Well, he just filed an Ethereum spot ETF. I don't think he's just saying crypto because he only believes in Bitcoin, but it's the law. Watch what they do. Also watch what they say. In BlackRock's annual investment letter last year or earlier this year in March, he said, Bitcoin, digital gold, spot ETF, amazing. And then wrote an entire section on the tokenization of all assets, digitizing, speeding up, making it cheaper, being able to collateralize real world assets. And now he's filing for an Ethereum spot ETF. Do you think that Larry Fink, he's right here. See him? See Larry? Do you think that Larry Fink is just out there lying to make maxis feel better? Right? I used to be a Bitcoin maxi. I used to love Bitcoin maxis, but I can tell you that 99 out of 100 times the dumbest, angriest, stupidest comments on my X page are angry people when I mention any altcoin, calling me a shitcoiner, and they have laser eyes and less than 500 followers. Every single time. Show me on the doll where Ethereum touched you.
That's funny because we have similar corollaries in the Hex community. You got a bunch of people, a bunch of these like kind of no engagement accounts with like 10 followers or something, criticizing or honestly just being abusive to people on X who promote opinions that are anything but the kind of the party line of like RH products. And then also we have like where on the Hex chart, where did the Hex chart hurt you? Point where on the Hex chart it hurt you. That was a great clip.
Well, I mean, again, so like I don't want to put negativity on the evangelist. The evangelist is going to be on the front of the pew. They're going to listen. Yeah. They're gonna know verse and quote of everything inside of their doctrine, right? Inside of what has been proclaimed by the leader. And that's all fine. Like I think that is a signal. It's a price signal. It's like Somi, again, I tend to agree with what a lot of Somi says, which is you want that. Like nobody is out screaming about the value or price chart of Litecoin. Nobody's out there saying it, right?
Exactly.
So like I love that we have this vicious faction inside of the RH ecosystem. Like I do like it, but what I can choose to do is, instead of wasting my precious brain power, my precious motivation and enthusiasm in the day to engage in Twitter with other people and try to squelch that, right? I just realized that they only have 50 or 500 followers. Why am I giving voice and why am I giving attention? I should be, if I care about the product community, the characteristics of the protocol, if I care about those things, I need to highlight why those are valuable, instead of basically even comparing it to other products. Like if I'm going to compare, I'm going to try my best to frame the positive and differentiating salient ingredients of this particular protocol or this particular founder or community or whatever it is that I'm advocating, and let the merits stand on their own. Right. Like I don't like, I saw somebody else had made some tweets and they were talking about different DEXs that have launched on the chain of Pulse Chain. And they were saying, oh, look, this is what's going on. This is what you got wrecked. This thing is now, a week old, or it's about to come out, or it hasn't come out yet, or all the different narratives around other protocols by other founders on top of this chain. Right. And I think, to me, at least, that seems to be wasted, because that person that's making that proclamation, sure, they may win 3 or 4 or so followers that are also usually anon with no followers of their own. So you really don't have any big impact. And all it does is irritate. Like, all it does is, to me, is it seems to demotivate the people that would talk about the bag that they hold positively. So like, I would prefer to say, here are the feature set of this particular protocol. Has a certain Lindy effect. It has a certain gravitas. It has pre-invested or pre-donated or pre-sacrificed capital that is psychologically probably going to lean favoritism toward this DEX versus that DEX. Sure, highlight factors, highlight those things that are truthful and can be verified, and make logical sense. But like, to also, if you care about a competing product or a competing group, realize that there are these different laws about network effect. I think that Money Gang Crypto recently put out, and I know I've highlighted on a recent stream, the benefit that many may hear of, which is Metcalfe's law. The expanding size of the network adds value to the network, basically. How many connections within that network, how many cross connections. And there's another one of these network laws, if you want to call it a law, it's called Reed's Law, that you can look up, that talks about the speed of these subcultures and sub networks that may be faster within the grander scheme, right? So you have Pulse Chain, and then you have people that are building leverage platforms. Is leverage something that Richard really promotes? No. Is it something that most of the community has gravitated around for 2 years before there was an L1 chain? No. Is there anybody that's had those feature sets really as part of their brand identity as they built it on Twitter and other influence spheres? No, it's not. It hasn't been, right? And we've railed for many, many years against people that had, links to leverage platforms, because the statistics show that 90% of people that play the game lose, right? So like, it's not favored, but like, there's still this element inside of cryptocurrency. It exists on Ethereum, it exists on Cardano, it exists on other platforms. People can choose if they're going to, and they want to continue to support it. It's almost like saying, I want to buy the real estate in Las Vegas. Are you buying the real estate because you just want passive income from a casino operating a business and other people being entertained? Okay, look at it that way. But also, don't be so pious and so like holier than thou, thinking that your passive income doesn't come from the destruction of other people making leverage plays. Like, it does. Like, the reason that the real estate in Vegas is expensive and valuable and has a monthly tenant is because there's games to play, and there's different value narratives around what those games do for people. So like, I'm trying to take a mature view about how to engage, how to promote, how to talk about the opportunities that lie within the cryptocurrency space. If another product comes along and has a audited, verified, especially front-facing founder and some kind of social accountability and things like that of the community that gravitates around it, then I'll probably latch onto that as well and say, these are the merits I see of competition in the space. I think that it's useful in a capitalist system instead of a monopolistic or fascist system. So those are my narratives. There's other things that I've seen that are, like I just watched a tweet that was some YouTube content, and people, I guess the host was, doing random interviews of people on the street. And of course it's sub-selected down to be the funny responses from people on the street to different trivia questions. So the 9 out of 10 trivia questions that were asked that were answered correctly, like, the state capital or, there's all these different questions that were just kind of obvious answers just because it was already being said. Like, the Queen of England is from what country? Like, these kinds of questions, right? Like, and people were getting it wrong, but it wasn't every person. It was, 9 out of 10 said England. And then the one that didn't and said something silly, like, Africa or whatever, they'd be like, oh, that's so funny. That's so stupid. Yeah. Well, I want to get away from doing that so much. Like, we have done it for many years, but me personally, I'm making the conscious effort not to belittle, be elitist, talk down to people that don't understand T-shares. And they say things like, I don't understand Hex. It's been around for 3 years, 4 years, and I still don't understand how to use it. How am I going to win the heart and mind of that person that is not interested enough over the 3 years to understand this T-share game, or to understand inflation models or lockup narratives or any of these things? Like, I don't have to belittle that person because I know something that they don't. They know plenty of things that I don't, and I can learn by creating a bridge. Like, I can learn about the things that they're valuing and why they value them, and meet them at where they're at without being condescending. I don't think that the condescending thing is useful for my approach.
Yeah, no, I think those are great points. Just to highlight a couple of them that I heard that I definitely agree with. The thing that Somi says, about, like, you kind of need that cultish, evangelical kind of like hard line, like, this is where the line is and you can't cross it, kind of like subset of the community. I think we've kind of labeled that as like the maxi communities, because, like, you want something that's so good that people care so much about it that they think that this is the only ethical choice within this entire space. It's like it's like a double-edged sword in that way, because it's like a strength that you have something so good that people are willing to put all of their attention into it, and even antagonize people who speak against it or don't toe that party line. But also it's a double-edged sword, because the projection of, like, what the community is by that vocal minority is that of, like, basically, what's the word I'm looking for? Just people who aren't fun to hang around with, bullies, basically. Like, they're bullying people online because you don't agree with their specific narratives. And then, but the second point on top of that, and this is to Reed's law, the comment on Reed's law that Money Again Crypto brought up in his video, which is a great video, by the way. If anybody hasn't seen it, go check that one out. He does a really good job. This is a hypothesis that I've had very early on in my time in Hex, and this is more based on the narrative of, like, Hex becoming, like, kind of like sound money, or like the base, like, economic foundation for, like, a greater economic context. Whatever timeline that's on is different, but it would become so big that it would attract people of different persuasions and people of different opinions, so much so that small sequestered communities would start to bubble up and then start clashing with each other, even within the community. Because even though they accept the fundamental premise of, like, the T-share or the Hex inflation model, they have other presuppositions that clash with each other, and that those would become into tension online. And I think that's actually amplified even more on Pulse Chain, because Pulse Chain is our own sandbox to build and express our own creativity or ideals or principles that we believe the direction crypto should be going on the blockchain, right? Like the low gas fees and the lack of censorship from greater Ethereum whales and or protocols and or organizations don't exist on Pulse Chain. So we have the freedom to create what we want and deploy the code that we want, which is, like, in my opinion, the most powerful thing about Pulse Chain, is that we get to build what we want and create the ecosystem that we feel the cryptocurrency as a whole the direction it should be going in. But that in of itself is going to create pockets of people who are not going to agree with each other and who are going to kind of clash with each other. And then that kind of creates like its own little double-edged sword in of itself, where we have all of these budding communities, yet when they fight, when they have tension with each other, that almost undermines the initial L1 in of itself, because people from the outside looking in are like, oh, it's just a bunch of people fighting within each other. That's kind of my perspective on all of that, which it really excites me in a lot of ways, which is one of the big reasons why I'm bullish on Pulse Chain and why I spend a lot of my time here on YouTube and Twitter talking about it. It's because that's where I see a lot of the action and a lot of the opportunity, you know.
Let me show that same image that you were, which is this right here, right? That's basically the diagram. The diagram is Sarnoff's law, which is basically a wagon wheel that you have a hub, which might have started out with Richard, you know, making his YouTube streams, and then people starting to follow YouTube streams, and his Twitter growing. When I first came across Richard's content, I think his Twitter was around 40,000 people, something like that.
Yep.
And his YouTube was definitely under 40,000. I don't know where it was at. But then you saw this effect of Metcalfe's law start to happen. And that was because this person talking about this theoretical product called Bitcoin Hex at the time. And, you know, basically I'm going to make a fork, and this is how that's going to have the characteristics of yield hex on hex returns and all this stuff like that started to happen in 2017, 18, I think. And then you saw Metcalfe's law, and that's then been the progression, which is people like RG3 and Hexologist and Crypto Coffee starting their own YouTube content, and people that really were drawn to their ways of explaining things that were different. It was add-on in a lot of ways to what Richard's content was. Like they would reprocess and redistribute the same sorts of information, but then they were starting to put their own twists on it. And they as a node basically of information inside this community, the Metcalfe's law, it was basically expanding. So you see the impact where, you know, Discourse Syndicate doesn't have the same followership that Crypto Coffee does. It doesn't. It doesn't have the same audience. It doesn't have the same vibe. It has different context and different tone. The host is a different age group and a different geography and different background than the other hosts. So like there's different reasons why those audiences are not overlapped and identical to each other. Somebody else had made a tweet. I think it was, might have been Westcott, that was making some content about like, and he was saying that all hexagons are the same. And I said, if that was true, we would all have the same subscribership, the same Twitter, there would be the same following. There would be no reason to follow more than one person that self-identifies as hexagon or Pulse enthusiast. Yeah. Because one is adequate. Like, why would you need to have 10 of the identical car in your driveway? You wouldn't. You know,
Hexo would be the only hex influencer.
There would be the only one. There'd be no reason for any other, right?
Yeah.
So we're all going to have our own twist, our own vocabulary choice, our own gravitas, our own, you know, comedy as part of the attractor to audience and influence. We're all going to do that. So I would prefer to say, let's look at the characteristics. If the characteristics, if you want to value something that we call immutable, then it is immutable and it's valued. Along with that immutability, we all know, I mean, many of us do know that immutable doesn't mean that the social consensus can't change to a different product or different protocol when immutable no longer serves that community. So we saw that there was Pulse X, and then there was Pulse X version 1, version 2, just like there was Uniswap version 1, V2, V3, and so forth, because the contracts themselves have a quality of being immutable, but the social consensus can always choose to migrate. They can always choose to change, right? And so it's the same sort of thing. Like I don't, and also, you know, in my travels and my experience and many people's experience, you probably don't think in the same way that you did when you were 10 or when you were 20 or when you're 30 or 40 or 50. You're going to present in different ways, even though you're the same person. Your perspective changes, and therefore your audience changes. So I don't want to be hateful or harmful to someone else's brand unless they're saying something that's absolutely untrue. So if they say that, you know, Richard has been selling his hex to buy Louis Vuitton, I would push back over that, because on chain you can see that that's not the case. And there's nuance on how you can explain things without being so confrontational that you're just blocked and shut off and no longer engaging their audience to learn the actual truth, right? So there's social calibration that I'm trying to teach through these experiences. But yeah, that's the Reads the Law thing is a big thing. And I wanted to show this again. Let me show another page.
Please. I still appreciate, though, you getting a little spicy on X every once in a while. I saw that one comment where they're like, I'm just going to unfollow you now. And you're like, dude, like, what was your follow even giving them in the first place? I was like, damn, get him, Gary.
Yeah, I saw some people like responded, like too spooky responded. And again, I'm not trying to cause a rift. I am trying to, I even said, don't take this the wrong way, bro. Like, I'm trying to have a frame about how I'm saying it. Don't take it the wrong way. Just think about like your threat to, a few hundred followers or a few thousand followers that they're following you for your valiant, noble statement that you're going to unfollow meme coiners. I did take the time before I made that response to go back like 3, 4, 5 months. I scrolled through the content that the person had put out, and I didn't see any support for any meme, anything that wasn't RH originated, and really not that active in the first place. So like those kinds of things, I'm like, that's a little silly. Like you weren't supportive already. It's almost like saying, you hate pizza. You've never eaten pizza in all your life, and then you're pissed off that Domino's is on your street. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
And then you call them up, say, I'm never going to buy a pizza for you ever again, even though I've never bought one from you before.
Yeah, if the customer is always right, but you've never been a customer, what impact do you really have, right?
Yeah. I thought that was really funny. But yeah, what you got it for us?
Let me highlight this. This is CoinMarketCap. A lot of people don't like to look at the page, but what I did notice was last time that I looked at it in any detail, I guess, across the header, I remember seeing 40,000 as the number of cryptos. In the top left corner underneath the logo, now it says 2 million. 2 million different cryptocurrencies are out there. So I'm all for the community, having some brand allegiance, having some kind of identifier, almost like the secret handshake of, here's why we're here, and here's why we've taken these values as our own, immutable, freedom of speech, freedom of movement, all these kinds of things that are charters of the Bill of Rights in the United States, at least. Like there's great things that we can promote and enjoy, having, breaking bread and having brotherhood over. I like that. There's certain things that are great about it. But I also care about the 9 people that have never heard of us, don't know anything about any of these products, really hasn't paid attention to cryptocurrency in any form, don't really feel like, using their Visa or their MasterCard at the gas station is taking their sovereignty or inflating away their, value. Like they're not aware of these things. So like, I just want to present as best I can to the broadest audience and kind of paint the space a little bit more inviting for the 9 people that don't know about us yet, out of the one that does. Yeah,
well, that's a great point. And I think actually, interestingly enough, the debate that a lot of people have around like which of the RH coins is going to outperform the other, I think that little debate in of itself exemplifies a lot of what you just talked about. Because when people come to talk about like, okay, which coin is going to outperform each other, they come with their own narrative with an distinct value proposition on why each coin is better than the other. And that in of itself is kind of like an example of Reed's Law right there, where different people who have different sensibilities are rallying around a certain coin because the value propositions are more in line with their, say, investment psychology, risk tolerance, or just their general philosophy on investing overall. And then they're all coming together and saying like, hey, this thing's better than that. This thing is better than that. And like mine's going to outperform yours. But like, there was a lot of criticism when Pulse Chain launched about the fractionalization of liquidity by going from a one coin to 5 different coins all in one, and how that's dividing liquidity, dividing bribe pressure, et cetera, et cetera. But there is another argument where now that we have 5 different coins that can potentially appeal to the sensibilities of 5 different classes of people, right? So our ability to bring in people who may have differing opinions, value perspectives, whatever it may be is amplified by 5x because we have 5 different coins with different value propositions. Yes. And then maybe yes, that the fractionalization of the liquidity decreases the volatility to a degree, but the amount of money that's able to enter the system overall might actually increase, because say Pulse X is pumping, and then you have the EHEX people are getting there's EHEX over here that hasn't pumped. It's like, oh, well, let me bring my money over here that may not have come in the first place because they feel Pulse and Pulse X is overvalued. And that dynamic can adjust and be variable for each of the coins. And then you have someone like a Westcott Crypto is like, screw you, Pulse X to the moon. Like the buy and burn is everything, like a K for K crypto. And that's like getting their, their money, and their, not just their money, but it's also getting them to put attention and content out on the internet for other people to rally around as well. Right. So like that specific narrative has created its own sub community within the community, which is increasing Metcalfe's law and Reed's law within the entire space of itself. So it's really cool to see how all. Yeah, go ahead.
We see this play out. There's a phase where everyone absolutely adores RH. And then there was a phase where some percentage of the people that adored RH were turned off by RH actions. And then someone along the lines of, let's see, Crypto Heartbeat comes on camera, starts making his content, has a different gravitas and personality type. And I saw people saying, Crypto Heartbeat is the founder. Like I know people that were like, hey man, this Hex product is amazing. Pulse Chain is amazing. And you got to follow Crypto Heartbeat's content because he's going to educate you about his product line. Like I saw that, right? So like, there's certain things that are just part of our human nature of like highlighting our own value set. I was going to say you're going to speak to an audience that I can't speak to. So if you look at the sacrifice set, so the maximalist position would say, only talk Hex, only talk Hex logo, only stake it until you make it, only, bigger pays better, more, all these other longer pays better, like the narrative around the product of Hex. And inside of this community, when a L1 was proposed and a DEX was proposed, still there was over $1 billion worth of cryptocurrency value that was not in Hex. Yep. It was not owning of a token. It was not staked. It was in something altogether different. Some of it was in stable coins. Some of it was bank accounts that got donated to Sins Foundation, right? So it was actual dollar bills. Some of it was in the form of Ethereum and all these other things, right? So like the evidence is clear that even though there's people inside of the community, it does not mean that they're going to buy into that particular product, that protocol, that narrative, that founder, that direction, that investment thesis, right? So a good point that you highlighted, which is absolutely true, is when something new comes out inside of this ecosystem, and a certain percentage will say, well, that's a negative because now there's this living meme talking about eggplants and single-sided staking on something that was not created by RH. What that is, that's opportunity. That is opportunity. That's opportunity. If you are diehard about your particular product or DEX or founder or community, it's not opportunity to shit talk that person. I don't think that that's useful to anybody, but it is opportunity for you to do your own analysis and say, this is why I believe in the feature set of particular DEX, right? As a competitor, this particular DEX has been launched since, let's say, May 12th of 2023. It is forked from other off-the-shelf technology, right? So you can go through the history if you choose to and highlight the feature set. And actually, part of my defense position, whether it's reasonable or unreasonable, is that I don't know what would happen if a critical flaw were to happen inside of RH products, critical, debilitating. At least in the early days, the first 6 months or so, I think that what would happen would be a social consensus and say, look, this is what happened. This is the DAO hack. And effectively similar to how Vitalik convinced a lot of people to migrate to a new blockchain called Ethereum from Ethereum Classic, then the social consensus would be, here's what the founder says. Here's how making whole can be done, right? And that would be organized. Now, you can launch a competing protocol to Hex, and we saw many of those come out, Rex and all these other kinds of things. But they wouldn't have had the social gravitas to bring their community if they had a critical failure of their technology. They didn't have the brand influence. They didn't have the streamers echoing the sentiment, right? So like there's reason that this magical, you want to call it, community exists. And part of that for 3 years or 4 years has been really linchpinned by Richard. But we've seen an example over this past year where that linchpin, there's been turbulence, certainly, but that linchpin is not absolutely necessary now. Like, I do like that there's been this migration, and it's been as eased into as I think could have been done, as far as Richard's prominent social brand, gladiatorial style, cultural leadership being absolutely necessary in the early days, to where it's not as necessary now. Doesn't mean that I wouldn't love the guy to come back and be the champion for the products he's created, but it does mean that I see that there's the brand identity with Richard, but there's the growth because of founders creating new products, new services, new identities, new subcultures, new Reed's Law kinds of participation in this grander network of Pulse Chain.
Yeah, exactly. And another example of that is the tension that's happened between some of the meme coiners and like the more traditional DeFi kind of the traditional DeFi protocols. And the main one is like there was a debate between B Roots and Buck from the PH ecosystem. And like B Roots' position is basically like the meme coins is the thing that drives the volume, it drives the TVL, it drives the activity on the chain. And then Buck was like, well, you're not going to get serious investors unless you have these actual like sophisticated products. You know, the people who have the net worth, who are going to bring in 6 figures worth of income without batting an eye, aren't coming in to buy the next $3,000 liquidity, 3K liquidity, shit coin just to try to get a 3X. They're going to come in to try to get these coins that are, they're going to come into these protocols that they can leverage to make their capital more efficient. That's like the general overview. And like, I don't think either of them is necessarily right or wrong. I think it's just two different narratives or subgroups of the community, subgroups of an L1 that attract different types of investors, and both are kind of necessary. Real quick, we got a
Nomad, man.
We got a super chat from the Metal Nomad, my man, the $50 super sticker. Thank you so much, man. That is incredibly kind of you. I really appreciate that, man. And I know Metal Nomad personally, so shout out to you, buddy. You're a G. Thank you so much for that, man. That's incredibly kind and incredibly generous.
That's a great. Again, the validation of putting this kind of content out there from someone like Metal Nomad. That's awesome. Like, very much appreciated that to this channel.
Yeah, Metal Nomad. He's a great guy. We talk in the background a lot, so that means a lot coming from him.
Yeah, I don't want to label either one as like a negative. I think that both serve their purpose and serve their audience as best that they feel comfortable. Like, there's a public identity, there's a public advocation about the B Roots' channel that I've seen his Twitter influence at least go from, I think it was in the 30,000 when I started to pay attention to whatever his followership had been. Now it's around 65,000. So his personal brand growth, and then also what Ian and him do on a regular basis as far as Shield Tank. Whether again, he tweets out that this crypto Shark Tank with Wendy O and Ren are basically copying his brand. But again, Shield Tank is a copy of Shark Tank, which has been on for like so like I don't think that there's any first mover in the space necessarily. What I do appreciate is that on a regular basis, if it's not weekly, it may be weekly. I see 300 to 400 people live on the podcast that they put out, and sure, they're talking about things that have a liquidity, like you said, of 3,000, 5,000 in liquidity, and they have a market cap of several hundred thousand, something along those lines. So I'm not advocating about any particular product. What I am advocating is that on a regular basis, it seems and appears, whenever I'm at least a viewer in their podcast, their Twitter faces, is I see turnover of new faces, new people that have different, different followerships themselves, different levels of being public facing themselves, right? They're not in there only to hawk the next meme that may have a long or short shelf life. They are there because of the circus and the showmanship and the entertainment that B Roots and Ian put together. So, like, are they engaging new dollars? Yeah, I think that they are. They move the chart.
100%.
Is it harmful? Well, if you're going to get on Twitter, it doesn't matter if you're a founder of a protocol or not, and you're going to berate B Roots, you should also put equal time to the harm and decay of Las Vegas and the harm and decay of anime cartoons or other things that you think are negatively psychologically impacting your followership or the people that don't follow you but should. Like, I don't like the framework of this is harmful and I'm going to picket this particular person or individual inside of a community when it's not equally applied to other things that logically would cause the same harm. So I think that kind of stuff is stupid, and I think it's lost traction, and I think it harms brand across the board. So if someone wants to go out and they want to be evangelistic about the values of reaching, big players, the serious capital in the space, like Michael Saylor was just on and made a stream recently, at least in an interview, and said, when we get the children out of the Bitcoin space, effectively, it's paraphrasing, and when bankers and Wall Street and government can take over, then this thing can really take 10x. Like, that was part of his paraphrased statement. I was like, okay, like the reason value is because of the children in the space that are over emotional and FOMO and FUD and go back and forth. Like, there's part of that reason that this thing gets talked about in the first place in social media platforms. So, like, I don't want the holier than thou, to take that much space. And at the end of the day, the controversy probably gets more eyes, just like Richard debating with one of these other maximalist position people.
Yeah. And I will say, I'll not walk back what I said, but I'll have a caveat. The 3K liquidity thing. B Roots is actually more regularly advocates for deep enough liquidity to take profits and stuff. So, and he has actually pretty good risk management strategies with his law of meme coins, content palette. So that was just kind of hyperbole for the sake of exemplification. But I want to shift the conversation. Huh? Sorry?
These are just examples. I mean, we see it all the time. And again, I don't want to put too much energy on it. I'm just saying, if we have that much time to stress over someone else's actions, then we're not putting our own advocacy to the right audience. Don't 100%. Talk to people that they're talking to. You're reaching them to begin with. Just like the Hex people that were upset that $1 billion came into Pulse Chain and PulseX. Why were they upset? It wasn't in their product. It wasn't in their protocol. It wasn't already vested and staked and, locking away or sequestering supply from being sold. Like, we're very human. Let's just leave it at being.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. There was something I was going to say on that, but I'm blanking on it off the top of my head. So I want to shift with the last couple minutes that we have. I want to shift over to one of the communities that I think is doing a really good job of their outbound messaging and marketing and being inclusive and just having fun while also kind of providing value. And that's the Tang Gang. I've seen you around the Twitter spaces. You're engaging with the content. You're engaging with some of the more prominent members like Too Spooky, Bullish, Orange, Gooey. So just give us a little bit about like what your perspective on like what's happening with the Tang Gang and kind of like why you've invested some of your attention and social presence to that community. Yeah.
Well, again, I have to give the biggest reason that I'm more like public about it is because of Too Spooky. Too Spooky has been a public figure for 3 or 4 years. I mean, as long as there has been Richard Hart content, in my view, there has been Too Spooky content. And it's because he's, he had, made memes and talks and, comedy, and, he used some crass language or some off-color, imagery and things like that in the past, and just, chuckle or laugh over it and go, oh, wow, as holier than thou as this community seems to be, he seems to be kind of an outlier. It's one of the reasons why I also like Hexy Bastard. It's a similar thing. It's like, hey, he's kind of like a part of the culture, but he's a brand of his own. So I like Too Spooky as a person, as far as his the image I built of him as a person in my head, as far as his social media content. But I saw that the Orange HOA thing, how that came around. Tang Gang came around out of that. I saw that they were very engaged, especially with Orange GUI, that's had different namesakes as well, but many people know him as Hex Orca. That that these are technically capable people on how to explain things that have nuance, such as liquidity positions, or slippage when you're moving a chart, and the growth of a community and things like that. I think that they put a lot of levity and humor and comedy into their content and what they put out as far as their regular flow of memes. I think I appreciate their work ethic when it comes to having a like a daily commitment to engagement, and not just promoting their own bag, but basically promoting some of these principles that we care about inside of cryptocurrency. So I like them as a group. I've seen them get some synergy with other developers, such as the 9mm DEX stuff and the NFT communities. And I see them regularly engaging with stuff that's outside of their own bag or their own influence. Like I see them growing in community because of their efforts. So I appreciate, David James is someone that comes to mind, Orange GUI, Too Spooky, Bullish. Like these people, I see D-Bunny, I see these people regularly, and not just self-promoting. Like I see them making, honest effort, sometimes with a little bit of citric acid in their content. Say that.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. So they have a certain tartness. But again, I think it's all good intentioned, and I don't think of them as malicious in their strategy. So I like it in general. I support the NFT stuff. I think back when we were really only talking Hex, one of the only people that would talk and get away with it, if you want to call it get away with it, something that wasn't RH created, was Simon from Hex Toys. And if anybody has seen Richard in the past couple of years, his big, $100,000 piece of jewelry was a gift by Hex Toys to Richard. They gave it to him at the London meetup. So I like the guy, I like Simon, and yet most of his product line is physical, pins and buttons and things like that, wristwatches that have Hex logos, which people can support by buying, right? It's a marketplace. But he also sold NFTs, and he built a whole technology and marketing arm and affiliates and things like that for his product line in 2019. So the NFT stuff, when people come around now, they're all hateful towards NFTs or whatever. Hey man, I see it as Las Vegas Keno card. I see it as maybe you're going to have something that has some feature set, and it's the first reveal of Wolverine and X-Men number whatever, right? These are going to have different markets and different enthusiasts that will enjoy it and might get onboarded into other things because they had a good time. Part of the NFT meme culture stuff is just, hey, I'm bored. I've got $50. I want to throw it around on a very low transaction cost blockchain. I want to feel included when I go into a Twitter space. I want to feel like I'm making some artistic contribution or getting some feedback about something I want to be, create in the future. I'm inspired. Like those things have high value, more than just the narrative that a utility token is necessary for your investment thesis. Like these things have super high value. We basically believe in hex on hex return because of the meme of Richard. That's my belief. You're not going to convince me otherwise. And so like if those memes and that utility of hex on hex return gives you more time to your family, gives you more inspiration to create a new technology or a new product or service to feed to the marketplace, the buying marketplace. Great, man. It's inspiring. It's good. I like it. So same thing.
Yeah, I think that's great, and I definitely echo all of those similar sentiments. I'm a big fan of what's happening in the Chain Gang. You know, it's a very grassroots, organic community that have sequestered their own community within the Pulse Chain ecosystem, and they're creating real value. I mean, like you see some of these NFT collections that are free mints. That for HOA holders, for example, you know, they're selling, there's volume of Pulse on the secondary market, right? So there's an artist creating things, giving it away for free to a subset of the Pulse Chain community. And then other people are coming in and there's an exchange of value from there. I think that's a really powerful thing that's been created within Pulse Chain, and I'm glad that it's happening in Pulse Chain. And then people like, you know, the work that someone like Bullish does can't be understated. I mean, he's going hours a day helping these artists make sure that their NFT collection mints are running correctly, making sure that, you know, things on the back end are working well. He's doing a lot of networking and communication across different teams and communities even. So like, you know, there's no team necessarily, but there are these figureheads like Too Spooky, David James, Tangent, GUI / Hex Orca, Bullish, who are doing a lot of the heavy lifting for the community. And it's been really encouraging to see something like that form. And I've had a lot of fun. Like my wallet like is just like filled with all of these NFTs all of a sudden. I'm like, how did this happen? I got to be a little careful. I'm spending too much Pulse, you know, participating in all of this stuff. But you know, did you see the stream that I did on the Chain Gang a little while ago?
A recent one. I haven't caught it, but I will catch it. Was it a guest or was it you on your own? And it's
no, it was me on my own. I made up a slide deck for everything and just kind of doing a big you know, overview, 10-foot overview of like what's going on, and then a little case example of like DJ Waffles and the stuff that he creates. And then a little artist shout out at the end, just kind of highlighting all of the artists because they're very artist first, like, you know, promoting the artists, allowing them to monetize their work and promoting like the appreciation of creatives, which I think a lot of time is lost in a lot of different communities. So that's the narrative that I'm happy is being promoted within a very powerful community on Pulse Chain as well.
Well, you know, this is the migration of everything in economics. The migration of everything in economics originated when we were cave people and you had to be a hunter and gatherer. You went out maybe with your small band of brothers, you hunted, you gathered, you brought it back to the tribe and you ate. Like your caloric input, your caloric income is what allowed you to survive. And later, once we started to decide not to walk 10 miles to catch a gazelle, we said, let's raise gazelle close to home, or let's follow the herd instead of staying stationary. Like we did these things as civilization took over. And so being an effective and efficient farmer, being someone that generates more in excess of what your caloric need is as a family, allowed for more complex economic systems to happen. So the child that says, hey, I have 5 brothers, 4 are needed for the farm. One can be chosen to go to school. One can be chosen to be allowed to go off and be an artist in the big city, right? Like that's to be an engineer. So, you know, basically we're able to reach for the stars and have the internet because farmers became more efficient. You know, they started delivering more calorie per acre with less labor. So like these are all derivatives. Even this whole ecosystem of cryptocurrencies could not occur if we didn't have excess. We have excess wealth. We have excess capital. It's above and beyond the basic needs of an individual. You've got shelter. You've got security. You've got food. So like once you're above that, then everything is basically speculation. Everything is. So I see it as useful to inspire an artist. Like I heard the other day, or I saw your tweet about like your NFTs are hand drawn. Like I saw your thing talking about some of the early sketches of your NFT collection and your content as an artist. You wouldn't be able to do that if you had to grind out, all day long in order to survive. Like you have to have access to be inspired. So
I think just a disclaimer, I did not draw them. I hired somebody to draw them for me. I am not that artistically inclined. I know. I appreciate
when I was a kid, they had this test that was in the back of magazines that if you drew a turtle and a pirate, you could go to art school. I thought it was one of those, man.
No, I can sculpt teeth after I break them down, but hand drawing 2D is not my forte. At least not on this level. Hey, let me give you guys a little sneak peek on what they look like. Would you like to take a look here?
Sure, I want to see it.
Yeah.
Ooh,
some of them.
Lasers.
Yeah, I got the laser eyes, a little homage to the Bitcoin community. Some fun little dental Easter eggs, some jujitsu Easter eggs in there, just kind of, making stuff around my brand, around my personality,
I love it. So is this something that it's a template base with layers on top? Is that how these things work?
Yep. So this is an NFT generator. So the How to Pulse guy, howtopulse.com. He's created this tool, nftgenerator.io, that will allow you to put the layers of a specific NFT collection that you want, and then it'll go layer it for you with all of like the rarities and stuff figured out. You can generate them, deploy the contract. You get these cool minting pages. I've been testing it out because it's still it's not really in beta, but he was still testing out the kinks to it. But I've been, you can deploy the contract and then it'll drum up like a mint page for you. And I've been testing these out. So it's like, I'm just kind of helping give him a little bit of social boost with the stuff that he's creating. He gave me some free credits to be able to use it. So this is kind of like what I'm creating my collection on. And I'm really excited about this. It's going to be, it's been a lot of fun to make, even though I didn't draw it myself. This has been a lot of fun to put it all together. And I'm excited to, kind of like you said, these things are like, social badges or like social membership cards. And I'm excited to give people who support me, people like the Metal Nomad, the ability to support me and then have a badge on the blockchain in an immutable way that says like, hey, I supported you at this given point in time. And then it's like a one-way funnel where I can take any value that I can create on the blockchain. I can funnel it to these people who have verifiably supported me through this like specific collection. And that's kind of my vision with it. Yep.
Is it Hex Diamond? Is it Hex Diamond? What's his name? Hex Space Diamond. Do you know that guy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's been DMing me. His guy has the first on-chain NFT collection. Yep.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I mean, again, one of those counters that Richard, had put out there was it's not hosted, on the chain itself. It's it's third party. The admin can change out the image for something else, like those kinds of things. And it's almost it's good marketing to preemptively resolve those kinds of demerits, I guess.
Yep.
So it's very interesting. What Hex, I think he's doing other products other than the diamond now or something, but it's very interesting. I want to learn more about NFTs in general. Yeah. It's really cool about the NFT generator. Did that not exist? Is that platform brand new? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's newer. They're still working out the kinks and some of the bugs, and I'm kind of help testing it in the background. Just like as I'm going through the collection and going through the steps, I'm like communicating with the dev, Crypto Knight, and just kind of smoothing out the whole process so that when I do my launch, there are no problems. And then the idea is basically this to be kind of like a one-stop shop for like NFT generation. And he does really great work. He's been working with me in the background, like getting things done like super quickly. I'll DM him 5 minutes later. He's like, send it to the devs. 5 minutes after that, fix. Like, go ahead. Like, it's been amazing working with him. And I think it's going to be a really, really good service to have on Pulse Chain for people who for creatives who maybe may not be so adept on the technology side. A nice UI for them, a nice clean UI for them to be able to go from art to deployment in a very seamless and easy way.
Yeah, once that's done, I don't know if you want to be specifically an advocate or if they can be an advocate, but it's that kind of content is getting to audiences that aren't already involved with Hex or Richard or Pulse Chain or PulseX and any of these things that many of us have as a common bridge to each other. But yeah, so NFT generator, this is how it works. This is the kind of troubleshooting that the developers have already worked out the kinks for. Like that kind of content is good for YouTube in long form. And then others can volunteer if they do want to support a content creator like yourself. You can use some of these AI tools where all you're doing is putting in the YouTube URL for that content, and then it will automatically dice up into 30-second long little shorts in the right format. And they'll also put, text to speech on top of it, right? And then you can actually even load it to that content creator's YouTube page. So you can do a lot of voluntary things, even if you don't want to be a content creator yourself, you don't want to be an influencer yourself, you want to basically help a brand and help your bag. That kind of stuff we saw earlier in Hex when it was single product. And I would like to see that with these other, product lines and different founder subgroups.
Yep, that's the plan. We're working together. He gave me free credits, and I'm gonna kind of help. I'm gonna document the process of using it and kind of help signal blast him out a little bit with the following that I have. But also, guys, on the AI comment that FundingGym just said, keep an eye out. This has been my fault just having getting around to it, but I have a slide deck pulled up of a slide deck created on like how I use AI to increase the leverage of my content. So like for a stream like this, I have one of those AI video cutting services that makes it into YouTube Shorts. I also have another service that transcribes it, so I get a PDF of the entire transcription of this, and I'll run that through another AI that's specifically designed to pull out the ideas from the conversation and then create tweets from it. And so like I can schedule basically like 2 weeks worth of five tweets a day from an hour and 15 long conversation like this.
That's awesome.
And that's kind of, I need to make that video. Everything's done. I just have to record it. I recorded it one time and then halfway through somebody called me and I just didn't get around back to it again. But that's coming up pretty soon on my channel. And that's one of the big things that I've been doing for like the Road to Monetization series that I do on X. That's like kind of been one of the biggest tools, or the first step that I've done to like increase the output at the very least. And then kind of using that as the feedback. But Gary, I know we said we keep it to around an hour. We're at an hour and 15, man. I think this was a great conversation. I had a ton of fun, man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to some of your new content that might be coming out soon. And if others want to do the same sort of thing, I would love to do, basically maybe do a course with you or learn behind the scenes or, sponsor some of your time to basically teach me some of these things. It's interesting because I've gotten flack over the years. And I get flack sometimes. We're like, oh, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do this or whatever. I'm like, dude, I'm retired. Like I'll do what the fuck I can do. Like you're not super chatting me, and your money doesn't impact my decision making or anything like that, right? So like this is completely volunteer. I like people that are, especially if they're self-sustained outside of crypto. If they like, for me, I have real estate and other retirements and things like that from my medical career or military histories and such. So like, I like people that can, they don't have to be like in your face, say, fuck you money, but basically they can say, I'll do what I want to do. Like, I like that kind of maverick personality. And along the way, I want to support people to get there as well. Like your content, I think is useful. I think like I said, your A/B testing, your AI content that you're generating, your learning curve that you're documenting and sharing with others on your NFT journey. Like I love all that, man. It's awesome. And if you get flack from other people that have a 6-sided diagram in their avatar, I think that's wrong. Like go focus on something else, right? Because you're one of the content creators, along with many, that is reaching new eyes and ears and hearts and minds. It's good.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Gary. That means a lot. And yeah, my DMs are open to you. If you ever, want to set up a call, be like, hey, like, let's go over some of the stuff the AI stuff or the NFT stuff. Like, my time is completely open to you, man. So never hesitate to reach out.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much for the show. I got a lot out of it. I'm going to listen to it again myself.
Yep. Everybody, Gary's links there. His Twitter is down in the description below. Go follow him. I think I forgot to put his YouTube channel in there. So people on the replay, it'll be there. Gary, is there any place else that people can find you?
Pretty much just Twitter. Like I'm on Instagram, and make sure it's the same spelling across everything. I'm never going to have a different platform with a different spelling, hyphenation, dash, none of that stuff. If ever you are direct message from a Twitter or Instagram or TikTok or something, and they're saying it's me, especially if they're asking any questions like, how's your trading going? Stuff like that. It is not me. I am not interested in your bank account information, seed words, nothing like that. So don't respond to it. Often you should just flag me, find me directly, and then I can get it deleted or taken down. But yeah, FundingGym, FundingGym, no other spelling derivative, and that's me.
Nice. And then guys, if you're interested in having like a free 15-minute chat with me, I have a public calendar down in the description below. If a time works out for you, just block that off. And if you have like a question or two that, you want like my personal opinion on, I offer my time to you guys for free. So don't hesitate to block a spot off on that. I've had really great conversations so far with a lot of community members. I'm really enjoying these quick chats, kind of meeting you guys one-on-one. So yeah, I'd love to meet some of you guys over here on StreamYard. Gary, it was a pleasure. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for your time. Everybody else, peace out.
Thanks, guys.